Welcome to another Politicrat Dispatch. Yours truly, Omar Moore here, and a message about what's going on in the Democratic Party right now. Well, you see on your screen behind me the Biden-Harris campaign sign, and I am fully expecting and hoping that the Democratic Party will leave well the hell enough alone with that campaign sign that you see. I want that campaign sign to read exactly how you see it reading right now. Biden, Harris. That's the ticket that over 14 million voters in the primaries voted for on the Democratic side. And so, in that spirit, the Democratic Party bosses, the Democratic elites are going to do that. That's what it seems like they're going to do. And I don't want them to do that. Topple the ticket like this, it would be a grave risk. Only the Democratic Party can find a way to snatch fascism from the jaws of democracy. Only the Democratic Party, dear viewer, can find a way to talk about democracy and how important it is to safeguard, while at the same time trampling the will of their own voters. The Democrats have had a notorious history, a notorious record of doing this. And it really makes the Democratic Party at times out to be the complete hypocrite that it sometimes can be. You can go back to 2016 when this happened as well, with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and all that back and forth between them and what happened at the convention. Super delegates getting in the way and doing what they did. There was a bitter fight around that, so much so that Bernie Sanders, after the dust had settled, ended up having rules changed, and there were some things behind the scenes that differed. But history shows us in general that when you have divided parties, when you have division within a political party, you usually end up losing the election. We saw that in 1968 with the Democrats. We saw that in 1980 with the Democrats. And we certainly saw that in 2016 with the Democrats. And I am hoping to heck that we don't get to see it this year. Now, the Republicans have certainly had theirs as well. They had some massive divisions in 1976 on the convention floor in Kansas City. The whole convention fight between Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford that resulted in Jimmy Carter eventually winning the election for the Democrats that year. But what we're seeing now in the Democratic Party is very poisonous. No one, no one is looking at the 14 million voters who voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. Vice President Harris is excellent. She is the best campaigner there is. And what I find to be absolutely hilarious is that the Democratic elites and the Democratic Party bosses and some of these rich people in Hollywood have less confidence in a president who for 3.5 years has done nothing but excellence domestically for this country and already has beaten this orange felon than the Republicans do in a 34-count convicted felon who is twice impeached, who is a rapist, who is an insurrectionist, who is a congenital liar, who is a racist, a homophobe, a sexist. How is it that Democrats have less confidence in their president, President Biden, than the Republicans do in a rapist? You know, in some ways, that tells me much more about the Democrats than it actually does the Republicans. I just don't understand some of these Democrats. And if you ever, as Democrats in that party, take Joe Biden off that ticket, you are risking alienating a portion of your voters. The vast majority of voters have not wanted Joe Biden to leave this ticket. As a matter of fact, Joe Biden's campaign has made at least $35 million since the debate, 20 odd million in that debate night. Joe Biden hasn't lost voters from this debate. And you can't go by the polls that you're hearing because polls, first of all, are awfully skewed. They overrepresent some samples and underrepresent others. Guess who are the people who are underrepresented? But the problem is that this Democratic Party sometimes doesn't know when to leave well enough alone. Tinkering and tailoring and sticking their fingers and noses in pies that they should never be anywhere around. Trust your voters, Democratic Party. Trust your voters. Do not alienate your base. Do not alienate your voters. If the voters did not want Joe Biden at the top of that ticket, they would have expressed that in the primary system that we've just ended with over the course of the last few months. You would have seen that. If the voters didn't want this man at the top of the ticket, they would have shown you that through the primary results. Now, as Joe Biden has talked about in a letter this week, the voters voted for him 87%. He got 87% of the votes in the Democratic primaries. He got over 3,900 delegates. Case closed. Leave the heck alone. Trust in your nominee. He's done everything he can to get this nomination. Leave him the heck alone. And listen to the voters. For heaven's sakes, listen to them. This is a man that has accomplished tremendous amounts in 3.5 years. He's done more than any president for a long time. You have to go all the way back to the LBJ administration of 60 years ago to see the transformative landmark things that have been done in this country. Joe Biden has been incredible as a president on the domestic level. And I really think it's very important that the upper echelons in the Democratic Party and the DNC take note of this. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful. If you tamper with this ticket, you are taking a risk that you hand this election to a fascist, to a dictator. And you are beating up President Biden publicly like this, the leader of the party. You are beating him up like this. And you are weakening this man every moment in an effort to force him out. But I think this move is going to backfire. And I think it can backfire in two ways. One, if you take him off this ticket, you really do bear the risk that you're going to alienate a portion of the voters who voted for him. And the second way that you can really backfire here, if you ever try to mess around, even if you don't take him off the ticket, there'll be voters who will be so angry, not just at the Democrats, but at this terrible corporate news media, that you will have even more voters come out. And they will absolutely vindicate President Biden staying in the race. Now, you need to respect President Biden. He's come out, he's circled the wagons, he's spoken to everybody. He's penned a 2-page letter. He's staying in the race. Now, get the hell behind him and shut the hell up and back him. The guy's presidency has been very good. He had one freaking debate where he wasn't good, and you all want to get rid of him? Tell that to the 14 million voters who voted for him in the primaries. Now get on your horses, get on your bikes, behave yourselves, and back President Biden. Thank you for watching. I'm Omar Moore.